KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. Good afternoon, Petaluma.
Hey, Matt in Petaluma.
How's everybody today?
We're good, especially with that wonderful, delightful music, The Industrious Ferret.
That's right. That's a very industrious ferret.
Kind of calms me down and charges me up, too. How about you, Matt?
Just like a good spliff and a line of coke.
Whoa, baby.
I wouldn't know about that. I've read about it.
You,
Hunter S. Thompson.
somebody told you about it one time in some other obscure reference.
Exactly, that's right.
So, Matt, it's been another week.
Yeah, another one, Jim.
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby. Here we are at Petaluma, here to console and commiserate with you.
The end of the month.
That's right, last
coming
day
into
of December.
Yeah, coming into December. Wow.
Yeah.
The year's flying by. Air is clean. Rain is here.
Yeah, that was just gorgeous and delicious and, refreshing.
Delicious, especially. Green, starting to turn green.
Yeah, it cleansed the soul after all that horrible smoke.
The soul and the air that was so bad it was the worst in the world, and they said that breathing the air in Northern California was like smoking 11 packs of cigarettes. And in the, 2 weeks that we had the air?
Yeah, about 12.
It was enough of carbon emissions from like cars for an entire year.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, there's global warming for you, right? And,
yeah.
We know
it.
Yeah, and there's been plenty of scientific studies lately. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the
like those guys.
National Climate Assessment. The National Climate Assessment is something that Congress has mandated be done every 4 years. And there's like 13 federal agencies. That's right. And, Trump would have happily never let it see the light of day.
No.
They released it on the day after Thanksgiving.
Right, the Friday. So they tried to bury it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Slow
right.
news day. But, this is, once again, I mean, these are scientists who are saying, we are in dire straits, folks, and we are running out of time.
We are.
The IPCC says we have like 12 years to stop the amount of carbon pollution we're putting out now.
We'll be in our 70s. We're going to have we're dead.
Yeah, we're going to end up with like a domino effect of cataclysmic change.
Irreversible.
Yeah. The reefs dying off, massive die-offs of coral reefs, global warming, oceans rising, the whole litany's there.
The diseases coming north, there's going to be a tick invasion, mosquito invasion, all of that normally is not up in this type of ticks and mosquitoes up in this area.
There was a mosquito in my house last night.
Dang, I hate those things.
In the night, and here it's November.
What
are they? Those mosquitoes are supposed to be dead.
I think you need to turn your heat down from below 80 for that to get rid of the swamp.
We'll try that.
Yeah, they should do that.
Scientists tend to be very conservative in their language, right?
Okay,
And they've always
they're measured.
They always say, they're very accurate, and they say, well, we know this to this level of degree of surety or whatever.
They don't speak in hyperbole much.
But in the National Climate Assessment, there's one of the climate scientists. He's like a Texas Tech scientist. He says, this report is clear. It's real. It's us. Wow. It's here. Ooh. It's bad.
It's bad.
It's getting worse.
Yeah.
But our choices can and do make a difference.
They do.
So act now.
I like
Professor Hey-Ho said.
Hey-Ho?
Yeah, hey-ho, man.
Whoa, hey-ho is right.
But I mean, to be that blunt for a scientist is really unusual and not the normal, but it's getting to the point where the impacts are being felt all across the country and the world.
Yes.
Fires, floods.
Famine. There was a big earthquake in Anchorage, Alaska, just today, this morning, at a 7.0 on the Richter scale, which is
I don't know that's got to do with the climate warming, though.
Oh, well, it's still a catastrophe.
It is a catastrophe.
I'm blaming it all. I'm laying it all on Trump's feet.
It's Trump's fault.
And Trump says that they asked him whether he read it, and he goes, a little bit, and then he says, no, I haven't. But it's because there are no pictures.
Yeah, that's right. And then he says, I just don't believe it. He tweets, it's like cold, maybe record cold, or whatever happened to
global warming.
What a moron.
He's a moron. He's a maroon.
Well, but here's the thing, Jim. So now it's there is no question. Even Max Boot, who's a right-wing columnist, said, "Okay, I'm one of those former climate deniers. I can't deny it anymore."
How about that?
And those other conservatives need to, own up here, right?
So,
and
yes.
Well, so the point is that it's so clear that this is a true existential threat to the future of humanity.
Yes,
and here's the guy, the moron in the White House, who's doing everything he can to drive us backwards. He is not only a national threat, he's an international threat to all life on Earth at this point. Now, if that's not impeachable or cause for,
climate terrorism,
or the, what is it, Section 25 of the Constitution or whatever it is.
Oh, right, because he's insane.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
One, yeah.
I mean, it's like, folks, Washington, D.C. people, time to get the straitjacket on that guy and drag him out of there.
If we live through this administration and we can actually do something about the climate and start to reverse it, or at least to slow it down, we're going to look back on this as just an incredible nightmare that our voters, not me and not you, but our voters put into place that just ruined it for the entire planet.
Well, it's true. I mean, there may be no history to look back at, because I
like history too. Dang.
Yeah, well, and I mean,
blank slate after this.
Humans are like cockroaches. They breed, proliferate.
Oh, we foul our own nest.
But they also manage to survive
like cockroaches.
Untold challenges. Now, will the world be transformed into a much, much less pleasant place? Yes, it will.
Yeah.
If there is any continuity to history and racial recollection, then people will look back and go, wow, they, how stupid were they?
Yeah. But Matt, there are some positive signs, and I'm encouraged by this. I think that what's happening a lot, we're seeing the death throes of the white male patriarchy, which is good.
Yeah, let's hope.
But they're thrashing and kicking around and doing a lot of damage before they go.
Yeah.
But also, I just read a report about the number of electric vehicles that are coming out in 2019 and 2020. A lot of big car companies are changing over and electrifying everything. That's the future, and they made their bottom line, of course, is making money, but it's the benefit is for all of us, right?
Right, but will it be enough, and will it be soon enough? That's the problem, because
that is the problem.
So GM is laying off 14,000 people.
That's
Why?
Right.
Because they're closing their sedan manufacturing plants to actually move their the Chevy Blazer to the maquiladoras down on the border with Mexico, but they're saying that people want big trucks and SUVs.
That's right. And Ford is stopping doing their sedans too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now, if they can turn all those trucks and SUVs into electric vehicles, okay, maybe we get a little bit more breathing space.
Right. But meanwhile, the Japanese are coming in with like Kia and Hyundai. They're coming in with their electric vehicles.
With lots of models.
Volvo is doing the same thing. By 2020, I believe.
That's right. They're going to be all electric.
All electric. And so people are moving that way, which is pretty cool. And thanks to Elon Musk, put in the charging system across the United States, and also apparently in Europe he's working on that, that you can go coast to coast in the U.S. using just your electric vehicle.
That's right. You
Pretty
may
cool.
not be able to take all the back roads just yet, but it's coming.
It's coming.
But I seriously wonder if it's going to be enough, if it's going to be soon enough, Jim, because, I mean, transportation is currently one of the huge sectors of pollution in America today.
Right.
And,
that and cows.
Yeah, and here's Trump, pulling us out of the Paris Accord, rolling back the Obama restrictions on methane pollution and fracking pollution, trucks and all that. And it's like, where is the tipping point? Have we already passed it?
I don't know. But the thing is, what can we as individuals do? And one of the things is we can all live in California.
That's right. Build the wall along the Nevada border.
That's right, along California's east coast.
You raise a good question. So people should, wherever they have the resources or ability to drive electric cars, get solar systems on their homes, right?
And there are incentives to doing both. With electric cars, you get a $7,500 rebate, or tax rebate from
tax credit
from the Fed. You get a $2,500 check,
cash rebate.
Right, that's from the state of California, and plus our county, Sonoma County, gives an extra $500, I believe.
In certain areas
where
the air pollution is worse.
And there are deals also with car manufacturers to give you money back. They want to sell you these things. Of course, they want to make a profit. They don't know much about it.
But they have to justify their change in policies and change in strategy and make those things sell, because otherwise they've invested tens of billions of dollars that will go to waste.
That's right.
Although there is no choice, really. We can't just keep burning gas in cars.
We can't.
Just that's a dead end to a quick death for everybody.
Yeah, well, you and I were talking on our way over here. Thanks for the ride, by the way. About
in my electric car.
Yeah, in your electric car. Pretty nice too. Cool dash, really cool, great pickup. And Chevy is Trump is now going to penalize Chevrolet, the General Motors, because they're closing all these factories
and it's making him look bad.
And making him look bad because he promised all the jobs. Don't sell your house. He said, and they go ahead and do all this. But anyway, he wants to get rid of the federal tax income credit, $7,500.
He's threatening to
whether he can do that or not, we don't know.
Well, that's going to have to take an act of Congress,
right? So he can be upset about it and rail about it,
and whine and pout. But now that the House is Democratic, that's not going to happen.
I don't say it's Democratic until January the 6th or something like that when they're all sworn in.
Yeah.
They're going to have so much work to do.
Well, it's true, but honest work. For a change.
For a change. And transparent work. For a change.
Yeah, for a change.
Yes.
None of this BS about, another Benghazi investigation.
Lock her up. They're not saying that much anymore since Ivanka, the use of her emails, right?
Lock her up, I say.
Oh, my God. Is she? I say. And she's the one that says, oh, gee, I was not familiar with the rules of it.
That's right. And besides, I'm a Trump. They don't apply.
That's right. Yes, right. I have enough money. Surely there are different laws that apply to me.
Well, speaking of the hideous family, number one, the Mueller investigation is really picking up steam, and it's been real interesting to see the timing on things. So, you've got George Papadopoulos, who's going to have to spend his 14 days in jail.
Not much. Why does it 14 years?
Yeah, exactly. But now Paul Manafort, who, copped a deal and said he would cooperate.
Yes.
The feds are saying, you know what, he's been lying through his ass to us this whole time.
Oh.
And we're telling the judge it's time to sentence him.
Yeah,
but the timing is interesting because a couple things. Now, you may recall that Trump submitted written answers to Mueller's questions.
Which he wrote himself. He said, when they said, did you write them? He said, no, my lawyers didn't write them. I did.
You can tell because he used the pink crayon.
That's right.
Or the orange crayon.
Picture the kitty cat.
So he had written answers to the questions Mueller asked. Now, Manafort did not, in his plea deal, have standard language that prevented him from talking to third parties about what was going on, that he knew of.
So there's no blackout
investigation.
Right.
So word is that his attorneys have been going straight to the White House and telling, the Trump's attorneys what's been going on with the investigation.
So Manafort's like a mole, basically.
It's possible. Some people are saying that Mueller is like left the door open for Trump to entrap himself. Now, others say he plays it by the book. He wouldn't strategize that way.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we've seen him do things like forward, criminal charges and information to state prosecutors, where he would not be eligible for
a pardon. That's
from
right.
Trump. Now, Manafort is banking on that pardon.
That's what they think.
Yeah. That's what it looks like.
Because there's no other reason why he would do that.
And it turns out that he met with Julian Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy.
So he actually went there.
Met with him right around the time he became Trump's campaign advisor.
Well, fan my brow.
Yeah. So, it's starting to layer on. I'm starting to get whiffs of smoke here. It's interesting.
But, Matt, it's just incredible. I don't think Mueller can ever stop because every day there's something else. It just keeps going more and more and more.
It's deep. I mean, so Trump has been laundering Russian mob money for 20-some years through his real estate deals.
Yes. The Trump Tower in Moscow, which he promised Putin a $50 million apartment there.
Now, that's the deal that Michael Cohen, his personal attorney, just pled guilty to again for the second time, this time for lying to Congress about that very deal. He told Congress that Moscow Trump Tower deal was dead by the beginning, January 2016.
Isn't that interesting?
He lied. It went on until June in 2016. In the meantime, Trump is like denying, that deal.
No collusion.
No, I got nothing to do with that.
Yeah. I don't have any business in Russia.
I didn't go there, so it didn't happen.
That's right.
Because then he's like, well, but if I had, there wouldn't have been anything wrong with it. There was good chance I might have lost the race, and then, I'd be stupid not to pursue my business opportunities.
That makes sense.
And the guy's just like, all about him.
So there's a theory that he was not expecting to win the presidency.
He was surprised on election
and the Russians weren't expecting him to win. So he was just doing his business deal as per usual. Exactly. And then when he won, it was like, oh, okay, now what?
And here he's lying for 6 months about the fact that he is doing a business deal and says he's not. Right.
So, Matt, these are all criminals. They're like the mafia, but they're stupid. Yeah. They're stupid. They're the idiot mafia.
Well, so Manafort, his law firm, they called it the dictator's lobby because his law firm used to. Oh yeah, his business was representing all the
Ukraine,
Ukraine, Philippines, all the
dictators. All where the dictators were. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and in Ukraine, his whole standard operating procedure was to get dirt on the opposition and lay in all the markers. And he's kind of done the same thing here, but it's caught up to him, it looks like.
Which also Manafort he will be paying the U.S. government $46 million, which Trump says the Mueller investigation needs to shut down because it's costing $40 million. Well, guess what? Manafort just paid Mueller's salary, and all the staff. But they're saying that he's agreed to that fee because he probably has about $100 million stashed away someplace, maybe like Cyprus.
Right.
But if he goes away to jail, even though Trump pardons him, he's still going to have the charges against him in state courts, Virginia, New York, at least those two.
The Mueller investigation says they're going to refile the charges in the District of Columbia that they held in abeyance because he had made the plea deal.
Which he blew.
Yeah.
So and chances are pretty good he's going to be charged. Maybe in all three of these, he's going to go to jail for a long time. So guess what, Matt? He's not going to be able to touch his, $54 million.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Well, if he gets, if Trump, don't be surprised. Trump will try to pardon him, but there will be all those state charges.
And the nice thing about this is that the state charges will be there. Trump will try to pardon him, and if he does, all heck is going to break loose, I have a feeling.
Yeah, because that will look like more obstruction of justice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so maybe this will be the I word, the impeachable offense word.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, and Manafort is facing 10 years to life, potentially, Jim.
Oh, my
Wouldn't you like to see him die in prison?
Well, I don't want anybody to die, Matt. But yes, I want him to go. I want him to rot.
Yeah, exactly.
His feet to rot off.
Go to hell, Paul.
No, go to heck.
Yeah, go to prison. Yeah, so.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, so it's really been quite
exciting.
Quite something to track, and we'll keep an eye on this, keep you informed.
Yes, I like the way you said that the smoke is starting to appear. I think there is.
Starting to get a smell of smoke.
Man, things are happening, and finally, right? It seems like it's been every day is like a month.
It's been 2 years.
That's all?
It seems like 2 eons under the Trump administration, this administration.
Exactly. My beautiful wife says that Trump has been president for 2 years. It seems like it's forever.
It does.
I didn't think it was 2 years.
No, the body blows keep coming, too.
It's the chaos.
But he does seem, after the midterm elections, he is squirrelier than ever.
Yeah, he's losing it, they say.
The Wall Street Journal does an interview with him, and they just go, this guy doesn't know a thing of what he's talking about.
The Wall Street Journal,
the bastion of conservative capitalism.
That's right.
And they're going, they interview him on, the economy, and he confuses tariffs with interest rates. And they correct him, and then he does it again.
It's like calling the town paradise that this was destroyed by fire. He calls it pleasure. Twice. Yeah. And they correct him, and he goes, oh, yeah.
Moron. Well, here's some good news. So, a state court in New York said that the state lawsuit against the Trump Foundation can proceed.
Oh, I like that.
His attorneys were trying to argue, he's a sitting president. You can't do that.
Right, he's too busy. He's too distracted.
The judge says, I find that I have jurisdiction over him right here.
Excellent.
Because basically this is a foundation that has been accused of misusing its charitable assets, that it has been self-dealing.
Wow, the crook.
And that there were campaign violations. They used it to, launder a little money for
a little money.
Yeah. So it's like the state attorney general of New York now has jurisdiction, and that's going to go ahead.
Sick 'em.
And it's like one of the more egregious examples of a quote-unquote nonprofit, just they having a fig leaf for, crooked dealing.
Right. It's like the whole church nonprofit thing, not talking politics, and of course they preach it from the pulpit. Right. Saying don't vote for this, vote for this. Right.
Exactly. Right. And, this is the second time a court has ruled that Trump's not immune from civil charges.
So they keep pushing it in the courts, changing the wording a little bit, trying to get it through, and it's not happening.
Yeah, the first one was a defamation suit, for disparaging those women who said that he had sexually assaulted them.
Right, that's
so
right.
that suit is going ahead too.
Good.
These things grind through slowly, but this is backing up.
They grind slowly, but they grind very, very finely.
Very fine. That's right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, so let's see. And then, of course, there's still got the debacle down on the border, and refugees. In fact, the Tijuana mayor is seeking UN help.
Yes.
They've got like 6,000 people in a sport arena that can maybe put 3,500, and it's getting to be rainy and disease and stuff. And of course, a week ago, the Border Patrol fired tear gas into Mexico to prevent an invasion. You listen to people on Fox News, and it's just like, they repelled a violent invasion. Yeah, those little kids and their moms.
Little kids and moms in flip-flops, little kids in diapers, and they're running away from tear gas. And tear gas, Matt, is banned for use in military situations. But they can use it in crowd control in civilian situations, and domestic situations. Well, it's horrible. But when I saw the video of the refugees clamoring over the border, I thought, this is what the Republicans and the right wing are going to go crazy with. This is the mob coming.
Yeah, this is what Trump wants, and then all those those liars on Fox News can just
Trump TV.
Yeah, Trump TV is like, these very violent people, and I mean, there was this one guy, this guy Steingart or something.
Tear gas.
Was just spewing that kind of course, fomenting propaganda.
It's just
Well, and then the government is like totally slow walking asylum applications. They're only doing 50 to 100 people a day, and they're just throwing up roadblocks all they can. But here's one of the telling things that just happened recently. The Honduras president, Juan Orlando Hernandez's brother, was just arrested in the U.S. for smuggling huge amounts of cocaine, tons of cocaine into the U.S. And that plus other weapons crimes because he used high security agencies to transport it and protect it.
Can you say cartel?
And when it was in Honduras, he was using the national police.
So
this is a reflection of just how corrupt this particular government in Honduras. When you talk to when people are interviewed, the immigrants are interviewed that are trying to come here for asylum, they're saying, listen, our government is so corrupt and people are getting killed right and left with impunity. It is dangerous to be in our country. This is the military coup that happened in 2009 that the U.S. government supported, did not stand up against.
Doesn't surprise me.
And now this is the natural evolution of guys who just have all the reins of power.
Unlimited power, which is what Trump would absolutely love. So these people who are fleeing Honduras are fleeing for a just cause.
Yeah, because
I wouldn't want to live in a situation like that. They could be killed.
And they've tried to, vote in their country, and it's too corrupt. And so, that's the kind of thing that they're fleeing.
Yeah.
So just
I wish
and Honduras is now one of the most violent countries in the world.
I don't think I'll be touring there. But anyway, so the solution is to help these people, the refugees first. That's the very first thing.
And if America was not a hypocritical government, we would be, protecting human rights, and we would be, not supporting military coups and not supporting corrupt governments like this.
The violence and corruption.
And we would be saying, okay, we're going to sanctions against the members of their government, trade restrictions, etc. So you drive those people out. But
it sounds like something that Obama might want to do, although I'm not sure that he actually he might have cast a blind eye to that.
Well, 2009 was his first year in office,
right?
And he was cautious, shall we say, in his foreign policy.
Yeah, I think if he had a do-over, he might do it a little bit differently, but certainly it's not as bad as Trump.
Well, certainly not. Nobody's as bad as Trump.
No.
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. So. Again, wild stuff going on, and of course, down there in the border, the kids are still being put up in tent cities down on the border of Texas.
That's just despicable. How many thousands are there? Like 13,000? Oh no, it's more than that. I think 20,000.
I think it was 13,000.
13,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's still. It should not be one.
And and they're supposed to be. Oh, this is temporary. Well, now we're heading into winter, and it's
yes,
more and more permanent.
When I was a teacher, Matt, before I became a teacher, I had to have an FBI background check. I had I have to be fingerprinted. So my fingerprints are on file with the FBI to show that I was a legitimate person and wouldn't abuse children.
Yeah.
The people who are in charge of the children at these migrant camps, none of them have been checked.
That's right.
They are starting to do it now, I think, because the press has come out and said, hey, by the way, these people are former criminals, they're child abusers. There have been
hundreds of incidents
of child abuse. But there's been no check on this.
In fact, I think it was Homeland Security that gave the private contractor a waiver so they didn't have to do background checks.
I did not hear that.
They got a waiver from somebody.
Wow.
And
that's probably Kristen Nielsen right there. Kirsten, who says, there's no problem.
Yeah, that's just how these guys roll.
Wow.
Pretty bad.
It's embarrassing sometimes to be a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
Our government.
Well, so the Democrats, like you say, they're going to have their work cut out for them.
They're going to have a heck of a lot to do, Matt.
And the House Democrats sent a letter to the administration
already.
Officials saying that they will investigate the uptick in hate crimes and how Trump's policies and rhetoric are contributing to that.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes. Perfect.
And Jerry Nadler, Democrat, who's going to chair the House Judicial Committee, wrote to the Assistant Attorney General Whitaker, who's a scumbag crook himself.
Yes, the person standing in.
He wrote to the FBI Director Wray and Homeland Security head Nielsen and said, quote, "It appears to be politically driven effort to diminish programs that empower communities to counter the influence of extremist ideology."
Yeah, that's right.
So they've defunded those, and he's going, okay, we want to expose this.
Good. Excellent. Good.
Yes. It says instead what the administration is doing is targeting, specific racial and ethnic groups, Muslims, blacks, whatever, as the suspects of, the main sources of domestic terrorism. Don't look at those people waving their, alt-right Aryan nation signs down there in, Virginia.
Right.
Pay no mind to them. They're no danger to us.
Right, because they look like you and me, the white people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and along those same lines, Matt, that people seem free to talk about things like that. In Leavenworth, Kansas, not exactly a hotbed of liberalism, the Kansas County Commissioner bowed to intense pressure and resigned this week after referring to the master race at a meeting at the county commissioner. He's white. His name is Louis Klemp. He listened to a presentation last week on road development options from Tri-VC, I hope I pronounced that right, Pendleton, who is black. Klemp rejected the proposal, explaining to Pendleton, I don't want you to think I'm picking on you because we're part of the master race. Now, after he was criticized, he said, it's because we both have gaps in our teeth.
And he had made that statement about, the gap in the teeth indicating that you're part of a master race.
Right, but he didn't say that.
It's like a little, not a wise choice.
Right, so people are saying, it's a little quip. He does that all the time and it's misconstrued. Yeah. No, don't believe it. Don't believe it.
Yeah, well, another bit of good news. So here in California, Democrat T.J. Cox won. He beat the Republican David Valadao, who's been in office there in the Central Valley. He's represented them for, I think, 3 or 4 terms. And so now this is another red seat in California flipped to blue.
So great.
And so it takes the total of red to blue seats in the House to 40.
That's astounding.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I just wish we had gotten more in the Senate, but,
Yeah, exactly. But so that means that Republican congressmen in California are a dying breed.
They are a dying breed. And I'm trying to find the article where apparently the California Republicans are really upset about their whooping. They had a big whooping, and they're claiming that the Democrats are actually
what they're going to
claim the election.
There's fraudulent voters. That's what it is.
Even Paul Ryan in the Congress says, there's something wrong with that. I just don't understand it. But our Secretary of State Padilla says, I will walk him through the process to show him how it works.
Yeah, we are very transparent in California. You've got paper trails and verifiable votes.
Yep. In fact, yes, and we're careful. Ryan can't understand why the voting isn't finished. Trump said, let's hurry it up and finish it. But Padilla says, no, in California, we count every vote.
Yeah, exactly.
And we make it fair. That's right. We still have, 9,000 votes still uncounted in Sonoma County.
Well, that's true. Locally here, there are uncounted votes.
They have till the 6th of December.
And I'm sure that those are getting counted.
I'm sure. Right now.
Yeah, but and we're hoping by the next election here that they'll have the new voting system in place where they can give, periodic updates.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be really great.
This one is frustrating to everyone.
By our next show, we should know more.
Yeah, who's who on the city?
Yeah, and the poor people who are actually running, for instance, they're like, I'm not sure what to do here. Do I take my vacation now? Do I buy these oranges? I don't know what to do.
Bated breath.
Yes, right. Just eat some cheese.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So,
Matt, here's something for you. I'm really glad to see that you actually have facial hair because there's a new survey of 8,500 heterosexual women that found that heavily stubbled men, I think they mean stubbled by beard, right, are the most attractive to potential mates, followed by men with full beards, the lightly stubbed, and in last place, clean-shaven men. So I'm clean-shaven, so, Matt, I'm just unattractive to
Good thing you got to keep her at home. So
wow, yeah, that's she keeps me. I keep shaving. She hates beards. Not yours. Yours looks sexy, I think.
No, thank you.
I think so. I don't know what she thinks.
Oh,
anyway.
Shucks.
He's blushing. Boys and girls blushing.
Larry, Jim's making passes at me.
Whoa, okay, moving on.
All right, good news here.
Yeah, what's that?
All right, so the NRA, the National Rifle Association, revenue fell $54 million in 2017. Is that going to hurt? Oh, that's so amusing.
Yes.
Not only that, Jim, that's a 15% drop in their revenue. Now, they do say that off-election years, their revenue does tend to drop, but their membership dues dropped 22%.
People are starting to wake up.
$35 million, right?
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
Now they still claim they have 5.5 million members, right? Dues-paying members.
So incredible.
But for the first time ever, gun control groups have outspent the NRA in the midterm elections.
I believe all those massacres probably had something to do with that.
Yeah, so and a bunch of the new the freshman crop of Congress people, a lot of them ran on more sensible gun control.
Excellent.
So, and a lot of the real worst Congress people that were the patsies for the NRA got their asses handed to them, and they're gone.
Good.
Well,
I think we should send the NRA our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, let's pray for them because it's gotten so bad there, Jim, at their Fairfax, Virginia headquarters that they can no longer provide free coffee or bottled water to their employees.
That's too bad. I bet they give them free bullets.
Well,
speaking of which,
let's recite this one.
In Wisconsin, there's a shot glass company that embeds a bullet in each glass, and they're giving all of its employees handguns for Christmas. To comply with state law, the owner distributed gun store gift certificates rather than actual weapons. But after some initial reluctance, all 16 of his full-time employees have acquired a weapon, and the owner is quoted in saying, "Now we have an entire armed staff that's pretty good." Yeah,
let's see how that goes over the coffee machine when somebody takes the last cup and the other person gets mad.
Whip out the gun and shoot
throw
him.
Down,
Yeah.
Can't wait to see something like that. Well, speaking about guns and bullets and murder, of course, it's been the whole Khashoggi murder by the Saudi Arabian hit squad. So
dismemberment.
And Trump is saying, MSB Mohammed
didn't know about it.
Salman.
I trust him.
Maybe he did and maybe he didn't, but our relationship was with Saudi Arabia.
We're selling so many military weapons to them.
So the Senate got up on its hind legs, and in a bipartisan vote of about, it was 63 to 37, they said that they, in defiance of Trump, they voted to move legislation forward to end the U.S. involvement in the Yemen slaughter.
That's only 2/3 to 1/3 approximately. That's not good. It should be 100%.
Well, but for all those corrupt Republicans, so this is 49 Democrats and another 20 Republicans. So it's the first time you've seen a Senate vote that actually went against Trump's wishes with any kind of majority vote.
Maybe they're starting to eat their own a little bit.
Well, maybe, except that really it's kind of symbolic more than anything because, of course, the House has not talked about any kind of resolution pulling us out of any participation.
Yes. Wait till the January. Wait.
Well, but so that's the thing. I mean, it's not going to happen before the end of the year in this lame dunk Congress, and so then this vote becomes null and void because it'll be a new Senate, new Congress.
That's true.
But in the meantime, Trump is talking about the $110 billion of arms and weaponry that we're selling to Saudi Arabia, which is, the tools for the slaughter of the Yemen.
Right. So he's ignoring the murder of the journalist Khashoggi, and now he's
facilitating
the murder of all these Yemenis.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, because there's like what is it? There's 14 million people in Yemen. Half the population are at risk of dying of starvation.
Oh my God!
You know?
And I read that 85,000 children have already died of starvation.
And 400,000 kids are at extreme risk of dying right now. So
it's just
14 million people on the brink of famine. You know, and then that rat SOB in the White House is bragging about weapons sales to the Saudis.
If you were president or if I were president, I think I would immediately start shipping aid to Yemen. They've got to help these people. It's an international crisis.
It is. I mean, the UN is saying it's the worst humanitarian crisis like ever.
Ever.
I mean, it's just like, but you don't see, it doesn't get mainstream.
No.
You know, you don't see people starving in, vast crowds.
Yeah. You don't see it on the evening news.
You don't see this.
So it's out of our purview,
out of our consciousness.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's shameful, and it's been going on for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to support Saudi Arabia because they're the counterbalance to Iran. And Iran wants to destroy Israel.
Which they think that Bolton is trying to pivot to a war with Iran. So stay tuned for that. Let's hope that, let's hope he doesn't do it before the end of December.
Despite the fact that the outgoing president of Mexico, Nieto, giving Jared Kushner their country's top prize, award for helping, recreate the new NAFTA.
Yeah.
Here's, Jared Kushner's portfolio includes, fixing things in the Middle East. Well,
no, it hasn't.
That's supposedly what the administration is claiming.
Yeah.
Well, you can see that he's doing just as good a job as Trump is running the country.
What has he done? He's gotten the U.S. embassy to move to Jerusalem.
Yeah, which pissed off the whole world.
Yes, except for Netanyahu.
Yeah. Exactly. Who's a Nazi through and through.
It always has been.
Yeah.
And always will be.
Yeah, just a violent right-wing,
Perfect
fascist.
friend of Trump.
Exactly.
Perfect.
2 peas in a pod.
Two peas in a pot.
Yeah.
That's really what it should be.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Hey, so in the run-up to the midterm elections, Fox News, or Trump TV, devoted more than 33 hours of coverage to the caravan of Central American migrants, I should say, seeking asylum in the U.S. On the day after the election, the caravan disappeared from Fox News coverage, and it has gotten scant mention since, except for the tear gassing thing, and I'm sure that they're saying that they deserved it because they're rioting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those violent children in diapers.
But here's a good thing, Matt. With a handful of races still undecided from our last election, a record 115 women have been elected to serve in the next Congress, but just 13 of them are Republicans. The House GOP caucus will have the lowest number of women in its ranks since 1994. Pretty nice.
Yeah. That the exclusionary tent, old white boys only,
Yeah, that's right. It used to be, remember the big tent?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another Republican figment of the imagination.
Yeah,
right?
wishful thinking.
Yeah, along with the hand, the free hand of the market.
Okay. Yeah.
The nose bends.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, we all, technology has made our lives better and worse at the same time.
Yeah, not the truth.
There's a couple of quotes here from the funny times here. There's Matt Groening, the cartoonist. He says, if I have one technology tip of the day, it's this. No matter how good the video on YouTube is, don't read the comments. Just don't, because it will make you hate all humans.
That's so true. Wow.
So
that's
technology
very true.
in action, right?
Yeah, except let's see, what is it? It's Daily Costs. The comments on those are pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty smart
those can
people.
be pretty good. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Of course, PG&E's been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah, there's an inch. Yes, really? Tell us about that, Matt.
Well, there's been these fires, you see.
A fire.
And and just to go back a couple more years, there was a big giant explosion in Burlingame that destroyed 20 houses and killed 8 people.
Were they responsible for that?
Yeah, they were. In fact, they've paid billions on that. So
gas leak. It was a gas leak.
That's right. And the Public Utilities Commission just voted unanimously to say, you know what, you putzes, you have done analysis of your quote-unquote safety culture.
Right.
And, you had a list of 60 recommendations. It's been a couple of years since you got that
any
list.
of them?
a couple, but the PUC says, guess what? You have till July 1st to do all of them now.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow. PUC actually has some teeth.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Nice.
and the president, Michael Picker, he says he plans a sweeping review of PG&E's, safety culture because they claimed that they had 3 board members that had significant safety expertise.
What the heck?
And Picker's looking at them and going, no, they don't. You know, you guys don't have, and you've been flubbing it, and now you need to get it right.
Good.
So that's good. So let's see our public agency hold their feet to the fire.
Like that.
In the meantime, of course, out of the 15 fires that have been investigated, the Cal Fire said they were responsible for 11 of them.
Wow.
The vote is still out on the Tubbs fire, the big one last year.
Yeah, it's still out.
And they're looking, but it's looking like they're guilty there, and it's looking very guilty for the Camp Fire.
Well, yeah.
And so they're facing $15 to $30 billion in liability. And they only have $1 billion of insurance or something. So in the meantime, I hope you've sold all your PG&E stock.
Don't have any.
That's good, me either, because it just dropped 45%.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you.
Good. Well, good. Yes.
Yeah.
Finally, because they've always bailed out the taxpayers. The shareholders.
Yep.
And trying to preserve their investments, right?
Just like last year, they got the state legislature to say, okay, and going forward from 2019 forward, we'll do a stress test on you. You'll pay what you can afford, but if you can't afford to pay more than that, that'll drive you out of business. We'll let you
slide.
We'll let you finance it and sell bonds, and your ratepayers will pay back the interest on the bonds.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, it's always the ratepayers.
Yeah, so the ratepayers, and thank God we have Sonoma Clean Power.
Yes, an alternative. They use the PG&E's lines, but
to deliver. But
everything. And there was an article in the paper. I'm sure you saw it, Matt. That PG&E actually, for the first time, we've talked about this on our show. They're burying the lines. They're out of Monte Rio. They're putting it underground just to see.
Yeah, for a half mile.
A mile, and it's hundreds of millions of dollars apparently, or many millions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. It's like they have
ridiculous
7,000 miles of super high risk aerial lines that should be underground, and now they've got something like 80,000 miles of lines across the state.
That's
or something.
Right. But if you go to Holland,
I just want to say,
everything's buried under the ground. You don't see these ugly wires.
Which would be great. I'd like to see
storms come through. They don't fall down.
But it is really expensive.
It is, but once it's in, that's it.
But the problem with it is it's not foolproof because underground lines are susceptible to floods and earthquake damage.
And rat damage.
The rat damage.
You know about that.
We know all
well,
that.
Can't you make them have sort of drainage holes so if it's flooded, it just
if it's underground and the soil is saturated pretty hard.
But it's not just laying the cable in the wet dirt.
No, conduit, right? But conduit, so adobe or soil expands and contracts.
Right. Okay.
You get a small earthquake, the pipes break, water intrudes. So it is not completely foolproof, and it is very expensive. But wherever it can be done. I agree. It should be done.
It won't start fires underground, right?
Much less likely. The other hazard, though, and this would makes perfect sense, is that construction workers often chop the lines when they're digging ditches for. My little backhoe just went through that big power line.
We've actually had them do that with gas lines that are underground too. That's it. Okay, so the answer has got to be small individual. Community decentralized community power generation through solar, battery backup, wind power, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
The whole aggregation of power is inefficient, and has those risks.
What always burns me up, Matt?
No pun intended, folks. You didn't mean it.
That's right. It lights up. It lights me up. Is when we installed our solar panels, we do get a credit to our electrical bill, but it doesn't make the meter spin backwards. We don't actually get money back. We just get a credit. So it's not as I like to have a check in the mail.
The meter does actually spin backwards. That's how they track the credit amount. Yeah.
I guess you're right. It'd have to do that.
They're always measuring consumption and...
That's right. Non-consumption. It's like going backwards in your car to make the odometer go backwards. I don't think that works.
I think you tried that before you sold your last car.
Tried it on my bicycle.
You were driving backwards for a week.
Speaking of driving, man, a Mississippi man intentionally rammed his pickup truck into a local courthouse. This is why, because he wanted to alert the police that someone had stolen his drug paraphernalia. The surveillance video shows Keith Cavalier, perfect name for him, he's only 28, climbing through the passenger side window after the pre-dawn crash, probably because he couldn't get out the driver's door, calmly surveying the damage and strolling away. He was soon apprehended and charged with a DUI and felony malicious mischief.
Did he ever get those police on the job to find out who stole his drug paraphernalia?
Did he get his pipe back?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
He got their attention, though.
He did indeed.
Well,
Yes, he did.
You can't argue with results, Jim. How about this? Okay, so the internet is the most important single development in the history of human communication since the invention of call waiting.
I hate call waiting. Except for the music. The music's kind of nice. It's very soothing. It makes me forget why I call.
You know, you listen to like PG&E call waiting. Or, you know, when you're on hold, it's like this crackly old recording from 1971 and on a
if you
monophonic.
If you need to talk to Sarah, crank the phone. That's right.
Jiggle the arm 3 times.
So speaking of Holland, there's a protest apparently every year. It's an anti-racist protesters who want to end the custom of, and now forgive my pronunciation, but Zwart Piet or Black Peter. The parades were, they're in the parades. These guys were beaten up this week in several Dutch cities. In the weeks leading up to the December 5th St. Nicholas Eve, Dutch tradition has adults dress up as Santa and his sidekick Black Peter, which means a white Dutchman dons blackface, red lipstick, and a frizzy wig to lead parades and give out candy. Criticism of Peter as racist has been growing for years, and this year's critics organized anti-Peter protests on social media. Nationalists, though, and soccer hooligans, many of them in Black Peter costumes, showed up for counter-protests that turned violent. Police arrested dozens of people.
I hope
maybe it's time to stop.
I hope they arrested the nationalists.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. They left out the good part of the name. We don't know then.
Yes, that's right. It's just a little blurb. That's
yeah.
Right.
You know, Jim, most of us who've ridden our smart trains love it. But there are some pretty big gaps in the schedules, you know.
Like, there are not enough cars sometimes.
Yeah, so of course, you know, they're $11 million each or something.
Wow.
And so the Smart bought 4 new cars. They're
excellent.
Japanese construction and assembled here in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then they shipped them here to Petaluma.
Yeah.
And Southern Pacific damaged them.
Come on.
All 4 of them.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Do you think it was intentional?
Well, you know, freight haulers don't like passenger trains. And
wow.
you know, I wouldn't, but you know, it's like how inept do you have to be? You're in the business of running trains and you break these brand new passenger cars.
And what, were they on flatbed cars and they smashed them?
The one little photo I saw looked like they were on tracks. So
jeezy peasy.
Well, so the Japanese company, you know, hired Southern Pacific to ship them, so they're going to pay for it, repair everything.
Yeah, good. So they can be repaired.
Yeah, the 2 of the cars should be ready by spring, but the other 2 aren't going to be available till summer.
That's nuts.
If you're a commuter and you miss that, you know, there's an hour and a half, 90-minute gap in the evenings, and they were going to fill in that. So.
That's too bad. I'm sorry.
Too bad with that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
We'll be glad to see them when they get here.
Yeah, no kidding. Eventually. Let's hope we live long enough and the global warming doesn't kill us all.
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay, so Matt, this is a bad week for sour grapes after a match at the UK's Grand Slam of Darts was marred by allegations of flatulence.
Oh, no.
The Dutchman, Wesley Harms, accused world champion Gary Anderson of beating him by repeatedly emitting a distracting, quote, fragrant smell, unquote, during the contest. I tell you, Matt, when it happens here in the studio, I almost can't speak. I know it's you or me.
Somebody's got great rectal control.
Whoa, yes. Keep it tight. Never mind.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, let's see. All right, here's another quote.
Okay, let's hear it.
TV and the internet are good because they keep stupid people from spending too much time out in public.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, woo! That's right. All right.
Yeah, that was Douglas Coupland. I don't know who that is, but
yeah. I think that's a good observation.
Wise words.
Except, you know, when they're out in public, we still have the Darwin Awards, and they're more candidates for the Darwin Awards.
I haven't seen the Darwin Awards in a while. Have you?
No, I haven't.
They haven't bubbled up in my realm.
They're horrific. It's kind of like watching the world's funniest home videos that everybody always smashes into things. And they're really not that funny.
Well, I was reading a little blurb about a not very bright crook who was like he broke into like 10 houses while he was wearing his ankle monitor. I just tracked his GPS,
Wow,
like
that's great. I like that.
he had his ankle monitor from previous run-ins with the law, and it's like, hello.
Oh my God, that reminds me of a guy who committed a crime in England and was escaping in his car, and the police had no trouble following him because at every turn he signaled where he's going to go. That was nice.
Very polite driver.
Very polite driver. He's well trained.
All right, how about this? Relying on the government to protect your privacy is like asking a peeping Tom to install your window blinds.
Oh man, that's pretty bad.
That's John Perry Barlow, whoever he is.
This is a bad week, Matt, for a church-state divide after a Texas pastor, his name is Ed Young, warned that God will punish America for voting Democrats back into power in the midterm elections. The Democratic Party is basically godless, said Young, a former president of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well,
that's like the time that St. Peter was inspecting the fence between heaven and hell.
Really?
And it's been knocked down, and he sees Lucifer on the other side. He says, "Hey, Lucifer, come over here."
Yeah.
He says, you need to fix that. Lucifer says, "No, I don't need to fix that. Well, you fix it."
Good for him.
And St. Peter's like, "No, we're heaven, you're hell. You need to fix it because we're heaven and you're hell."
There we go. Right. That's a good reason.
"I'm not going to. What are you going to do?"
What are you going to do?
St. Peter says, "I'm going to sue you."
Oh.
And Lucifer laughed and says, "Where are you going to get a lawyer?"
Because they're all with me, baby.
That's right, they're mine.
So, Matt, there's still time for you to come forward with your $1.5 billion Mega Millions jackpot lottery ticket that has not been claimed yet.
Oh.
No one has claimed the prize, but the winner has up to 180 days to come forward. So maybe the winner knows, maybe they don't know. Maybe they're setting everything up, the infrastructure.
Maybe they left it in their pockets and their spouse washed it.
Oh, my God, everything's bleached out.
Yeah.
Maybe they just threw it away. Who knows?
Who knows?
Right.
That'd be tough.
Yeah, it would
you
be
wouldn't
tough.
want that to happen.
Yeah.
Local politics here we touched on a little earlier, but I did want to note that there's in Windsor is being threatened with a lawsuit by the Schenkman and Hughes law firm from Malibu.
And Windsor is about half the size of Petaluma.
Yeah,
right?
it's about
approximately
27,000, I think, people.
Right.
But this is the law firm that has gone around threatening cities in California
for what?
With lawsuits if they don't switch to district elections instead of citywide at-large elections for their city councils.
And what would be the advantage of that?
Their motivation is that they're saying that Hispanics and other minority groups are not getting appropriate representation.
That makes sense. Okay.
So that's a very legitimate, motivation, right?
Right.
But even they've sued places like even Santa Monica. They've done this to something like 30 cities.
Really?
And about 10 of those cities have fought, but they have all lost in court.
Ooh.
The law firm has been able to make the argument that, in these cities, the demographics show that certain people are not having an opportunity to be represented.
Right, not being
The
represented.
most recent one was Santa Rosa.
Okay.
Right now, Santa Rosa is 150, 180,000 people.
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah.
So they split it up into, I think 5 or 7 districts.
Okay.
But that puts about 25,000 people per district.
About each size of the town of Windsor.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So now Windsor is looking at being sued for not going to districts, but that's going to mean that they're going to have as few as a couple thousand people, voters.
One person per district,
right?
Yeah.
Which means that it becomes very easy to manipulate a race. If like a corporate interest wants to elect a certain person, all they got to do is like swing a few hundred votes, and they can dump a bunch of money because it's such a small scale.
Wow.
So it's and they're saying, well, Windsor is not allowing a representation of their Hispanic community. People in the city council, in fact, a woman that just ran for city council, the top vote getter, says, I'm Hispanic, and another one who ran in the past said, I'm Hispanic, and it wasn't that people were voting against me because I'm Hispanic. They just chose somebody else.
Right.
And there's a couple others that say they have Hispanic heritage. So maybe, but the question it raises, and it's important to us here in Petaluma, is how small of a city do you have to be before this becomes counterproductive?
Like, is Petaluma next?
That's my concern.
Yeah.
Because if you got 7 people in the council, you got a mayor and 6 council members, if you divided it into 6 districts, our population about 60,000, so you'd have about 10,000 people. You'd probably have about 5,000 voters, 4,000 voters per district.
Not
and
that
once
many.
again, it's going to be easy to manipulate that. And now, so, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I'm not saying I have the answers, but I think it's an important issue because I do think peddling is going to be next. When I saw it happen in Santa Rosa, I thought, you know what, they're going to come after peddling.
Sure, because I'm not sure why they're going to Windsor first. I would think they would go to peddling. Maybe it's a test case to see.
Well, I think because Windsor actually has a higher per capita of Hispanic people.
But it's a moot point because all the people, or many of the people who are on city council are of Hispanic heritage.
A few, yes.
But Matt, it also seems to me that this is a perfect case of working around gerrymandering by having these small districts that could be swayed one way or the other. In a sense, it's gerrymandering in that way, right?
It's kind of similar like that.
Very similar, the end results.
That's right.
Maybe not a good thing. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you know, I'm sure it's as if, you know.
But then we have ranked choice voting, so...
Yeah, see, now ranked choice voting is interesting because the state of Maine has implemented that in the midterm election. This is the first time
San Francisco has it too.
But this first time state
the whole state,
and what happened was in the first pass of votes, a Republican was leading, but he didn't get a 50% plus one majority.
Okay.
So, you know, people's first choices that were at the bottom were cut, and then their second choice was counted, and then the Democrat won. And it's like an instant runoff.
And are people pissed off about that?
Well, I don't think so. I think people saw that it actually worked pretty well.
Good.
You know, so they didn't get their first choice, but they got their second choice. Not bad. Nobody got a majority in the first go-round. You can't say that.
You can't always get your mashed potatoes.
That's right.
Right. You might have to end up with Brussels sprouts. They're pretty good. Can be.
Well, if you have enough garlic and bacon, they can.
If you have Phyllis's Brussels sprouts, they're really good.
She makes a mean Brussels sprout.
She made a second batch. They were delicious. Yeah. We know somebody who ate them cold, which is not so delicious. But
that's pretty brave. But you know what? Maybe she'll share that recipe with us.
I don't think so. Have to get it out of her cold head.
That's the last time we invite you to Thanksgiving.
I'll tell her that. All right. We'll go out to Denny's.
This is transparent negotiation right here in front of you folks.
Wow. It's live.
KPCA Community Radio.
Come on, Matt. Let's arm wrestle. Or leg wrestle.
Well, you know, someday
we're on the floor now.
Yeah. Ow! Cut that out. No, we actually might, for our listeners who are interested, the day may come soon when we actually live stream our show on YouTube.
Yes, because we're now on YouTube. Yes. The mixed show is on YouTube.
That's right.
What do? You Google.
When you go on YouTube, you just search Two Mooks and a Mic.
And is it number 2?
Mooks out loud, TWO.
TWO, Mooks and a Mic, and you'll see graphics.
Yeah, and I think we have, 5 shows up?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And we're really hitting the numbers. I think one of our shows had 14 views. And
it must be you and me keep going back to the same thing. Is it up yet? Is it up yet?
Oh, listen to those dulcet tones.
So we were going to live stream today, but I didn't have the right hat.
That's right.
So we're working on that. No one wants to have our bald spots be showing, right? And we'll have to actually wear a tie or something. Well, shirts.
We'll turn the lights down, make us
way
really
down
good.
Low. Yeah. Right, we'll do it by candlelight. There we go. Oh, romantic.
Jim, one more. I think we're getting
okay, so
inspiration.
Here we go. 74% of Republicans think there was widespread voter fraud during the midterm election. 67% of Democrats say there wasn't. 78% of Democrats said voter suppression was widespread, whereas 63% of Republicans said it wasn't.
Was this nationally?
Yeah, this is nationally. So the jury's out of what people think. Just vote. I'm glad they did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Matt, we held the fort down for another hour.
Thank you for colluding with me.
Thank you for colluding with me. It's been a good give and take, and I wish I hadn't agreed to arm wrestle you. My arm hurts. It's sad.
Yeah, we'll have a rematch next week live on YouTube. Folks, this is Two Mooks and a Mic. Thanks for tuning in. That's Jim Thomas over there. I'm Matt McGuire
right over there.
We're your host, and come back next week at noon.
Yeah, do come back. See you. Bye.
Have a good one.